Hello and welcome. I saw this exciting video on YouTube called Shocked Everyone, the Big Bang May Have Never Happened. Quote from NASA Space News. No relation to actual NASA affiliation or anything like that. Just a guy who's really enthusiastic about him, I guess. So let's take a quick listen to the video here.
The new images of the cosmos captured by the James Webb Space Telescope are breathtaking. However, most expert astronomers and cosmologists find them exceedingly shocking and not at all what the theory predicted. The authors repeatedly remark in the rush of technical astronomical publications released online since July 12th that the images show a shockingly large number of galaxies that are surprisingly smooth, surprisingly faint, and surprisingly ancient. There are many surprises, some of which are not always pleasant. The title of one paper begins with a direct explanation: panic. It is not difficult to understand why these too smooth.
Like, these people are so fucking dramatic, dude.
The title of one
Panic. Panic at the disc. Okay. Well, I think he was doing a joke, like Panic at the Disco. Maybe I was wrong about that. This guy could just have a really cool sense of humor. Could just be super into dad jokes.
One paper begins with a direct explanation.
Disregard that.
It is not difficult to understand why these too smooth, too ancient, and too many galaxies are incompatible with the Big Bang Theory. But before we go any further, it's important to note that these discoveries have not yet been peer-reviewed. Big Bang theorists have known for years that the Hubble Space Telescope images indicate an existence of these small...
Dude, no, these have not been peer-reviewed, dude. So, just to be clear, peer review is a fucking joke. If you're not in on what's getting funded, and you can fund agendas, and like what was that thing those people did a couple years ago where they submitted like mock joking sarcastic like scientific papers to be published in these in like social what do they call it, not social studies, sociology, I think. I don't know. One of those fucking things where people get degrees in like human rights and shit or whatever, like that kind of stuff. So they just started submitting stuff like, dogs are racist and shit like that or whatever they put. You can look it up. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, academia has been completely subverted. If there's an agenda or funding, that's what's going to get pushed. That's what's going to get peer reviewed. If you say something against that narrative, it's not going to get, you're not going to get money to do studies or you do any research, or no one's going to talk about your shit. You're going to get ignored. So anyway.
Ultra-dense Mighty Mouse galaxies. Unfortunately, James Webb has made things worse.
Mighty Mouse galaxies, dude.
Water galaxies by colliding and merging to become more spread out. James Webb saw disproportionately smooth disks and tidy spiral shapes, similar to what we find in today's galaxies. According to the findings in the Panic article, smooth spiral galaxies were around 10 times as abundant as the theory expected, and this would challenge our ideas about mergers being a very common process. In a nutshell.
And these are supposed to be pictures.
Smooth spiral galaxies were around.
Like, I'm not saying they're fake, dude. I'm not gonna make any claims, but like, are they real? Like what steps would you take to like, to verify it if this is what you were working with? Like, I don't know.
10 times as abundant as the theory expected, and this would challenge our ideas about merger.
I don't know. And keep in mind, nobody can see those things. Those could just be, I don't know, like generated in a simulation. You know what I mean? Like, say you had like a simulation of, what you were calling space and the universe and all that shit. What if you had like a way to simulate it and then you just had images produced from like an algorithm and it was just like relayed from a supercomputer, and then that data was just like, I don't know, distributed top down from like a chain of command, or I don't know.
Being a very common process. In a nutshell, this evidence completely demolishes the merger theory. With few or no mergers, small galaxies cannot expand to be 100 times larger. As a result, they were never small, and hence the optical
Dude, they I didn't even know they used to say that. They had to have mergers.
illusion promised by the expansion.
So has anyone ever oh man, I'll keep this short because I know dude was asking me a question specifically.
However, no illusion implies no expansion. The illusion is an essential consequence of expansion. As a result, Big Bang proponents are in a state of fear. Small and smooth galaxies imply no expansion, and as a result, no Big Bang.
Smooth
And according to the theory,
galaxies.
there's nothing that could have been prior to the Big Bang. The existence of these galaxies proves that the
Dude, according to this theory that our entire worldview hinges on, so that we can maintain a philosophy called the Copernican Principle. According to that dogma, nothing could be before the thing we... What did that guy just say?
expansion, and as a result, no Big Bang. And according to the theory, there's nothing that could have been prior to the Big Bang. The existence of these galaxies proves that the Big Bang did not occur at all. But is this possible? To put it another way, could our universe have no beginning? The Big Bang is the idea.
Yeah, dude. So, rest in peace, Big Bang.
That in the distant past, our universe was hotter, denser, and more uniform. It is not the notion that things became arbitrarily hot and dense, to the point that the laws of physics no longer apply. It is the idea that the universe expanded.
So they're talking about this shit like they were out there with a thermometer and shit measuring the temperature, and they're like, oh, it went down over 1 billion years. It's actually 7 Kelvins cooler than it was last year. Like,
Cooled and gravitated. We destroyed our excess antimatter, becoming protons, neutrons, light nuclei.
oh, dude, what's this guy talking about? Hold on a second. I'm tripping.
And more uniform. It is not the notion that things became arbitrarily hot and dense, to the point that the laws of physics no longer applied.
Oh.
It is the idea that the universe expanded, cooled, and gravitated. We destroyed our excess antimatter, becoming protons.
We destroyed our excess antimatter, dude. Our excess antimatter.
Neutrons, light nuclei, atoms, and eventually stars, galaxies, and ultimately, the universe we know today. It is no longer considered that space and time arose from a singularity 13.8 billion years ago. In a nutshell, the Big Bang may not be the absolute...
Oh, we just realized the whole fucking universe didn't come from the same spot, which was condensed into nothing, and it just spontaneously erupted. Oh, fuck. We just realized that's not on the table. Ah, fuck.
beginning of the universe, but it may be the origin of our universe as we know it. If it is, it won't be the beginning of everything, but it would be our beginning. It may not be the full tale in and of itself, but it is an important element of the larger cosmic story that binds us all. And now, as always,
yeah, dude, larger cosmic story that binds it all. Couldn't have said it better myself, Space News. So anyway, I was in the comments section on this video. Sorry, we got a little sidetracked. I was in the comments section talking about some stuff that I just found out about. Shout out to Wits It Gets It and Glowbusters, who presented this stuff on Varshini YP, and his thing about the quasars. Really interesting paper. So yeah, they were talking about this guy said Big Bang to me always seemed like a fiction made up to explain something we had no real explanation for, an elaborate fiction made up to fit our frail, narrow human minds that we could comprehend with our sense of being and limited knowledge of science. You know, shout out to that guy. He gets it. And then my boy says, and what knowledge and training in the fields of blah, blah, blah do you have which leads you to dismiss half a century of science as fiction, right? And this guy doesn't know, right? So, like, I'm not coming at you, guy, one coin Midas. Like, you know, when you think you know something and shit, and then, like, you know, someone says something like this, you're just like, man, how you gonna step, dog? Like, what are you talking about? You all know nothing about that dark matter. So, like, I totally get it. I used to be there, man. So, all good, dude. You know, we're all going through it together, brother. So anyway, I told him, I said, yeah, you should check out who came up with that theory, man, because about this whole Big Bang situation, right? And he was like, yeah, I know it was George Guy, French name or whatever. Not only was he a Catholic priest, he was also an astronomer, a mathematician, a professor of astronomer, a theoretical physicist, and my dad isn't. I'm just kidding, dude. Uh, isn't it funny that that the evidence for the Big Bang theory and the expansion of the universe was so overwhelming that the Catholic Church had to adopt some of it. The Catholic Church has always been a supporter in scientific progress. Yeah, they've always been a supporter of something, dude. Lots of progress, lots. They're definitely in support of something. They spend a lot of money on something, on things that they support. A lot of money, you know, for the thing that they support. Uh, you know. So uh anyway, I told him, there's no evidence to this day of the big of expansion and a Big Bang and all that shit. And it's a huge problem. And they have to come up with theories to explain it. And it's all stuff that can't be verified, can't be falsified. Uh, you know, except for in these instances where they'll cling on to something that they think proves it. Like, for example, the cosmic microwave background and the redshift. They'll be like, well, redshift proves expansion and shit, right? And that's been debunked, but I don't know the specifics on that. But I've already heard that's been dunked on, but I haven't even looked into it because just haven't got around to it yet. And there's so many other things, like, once you get into all this shit, dude, like, you got to prioritize and, what interests you and shit. So I don't know off the top of my head how it's been debunked, but it's something that I'm sure you could find has been reasonably disputed by now, just from a Google search. But we're gonna keep it moving here. See, Jesuit priest, no overwhelming evidence, just hedging their bets and constructing a narrative around the Copernican Principle, a philosophy that all these people adopted with no evidence and yet refused to throw out. And if you read this paper by YP Vinarshi, or whatever his name is, you'll really understand what's going on here. And since I'm just gonna pull it up, since I'm actually making a video and not a comment section. So if you pull it up here, sorry. Oh, let's see. So in the conclusion here of what's going, so it says the redshift hypothesis for quasars, is the Earth the center of the universe, right? Because with this guy made an oopsie. From this discussion, it is obvious that if two or more quasars have the same value of z, they are at the same distance, though in different directions from the Earth. In other words, assuming the cosmological redshift hypothesis, the cosmic microwave background and all that shit that they say proves expansion and all that, the quasars in the 57th groups in Table 1 are arranged on 57 spherical shells with the Earth as the center. This is certainly an extraordinary result. Some of the possibilities we shall consider to accommodate this result may be disturbing, but we shall consider these possibilities dispassionately. All right, so he's saying, bro, try not to freak out, dude, because I'm about to question the Copernican Principle, and he can't even lead with it, bro. Like, we're gonna read through this. He's like, just try and, don't freak out. He's prepping them, dude, because they're like, there's no way he's gonna talk about the Copernican Principle, dude. Like someone peer reviewing this or something. That's what they're thinking. Anyway, So he says, number one, coincidence in distance could be possible if there were clustering. However, an examination of the coordinates of the various members of individual groups shows that in most cases there is no such correlation. Hence, this explanation has to be ruled out. All right, so it's not this one. Can't be this one, right? Has to be ruled out because there's no correlation with the clustering or whatever. They can't get it. They can't get it to cluster, I guess, or whatever the fuck, right? 2, quasars may be arranged like atoms in a crystal lattice. In this, or with the Earth being either at an empty lattice site or a suitable interstitial site. Let's see. Should that be the case, one would expect some pattern or regularity in directions of the quasars belonging to a certain group. No such evidence is found of this possibility, so this must be abandoned. So no evidence for number 2. So if someone was to say, hey, do you think it's a crystal lattice with the Earth being at an empty lattice at the end or something like that, maybe? Like, no, we can't do that because there's no such evidence for that. So we must abandon that thought. Oh, okay. So what do you think for number 3? The Earth is indeed the center of the universe. Arrangement of quasars on certain spherical shells is only with respect to the Earth. These shells would disappear if viewed from another galaxy or quasar. This means the cosmological principle will have to go. It also implies the coordinate system fixed to the Earth will be a preferred frame of reference in the universe. Consequently, both the special and general theory of relativities must be abandoned for cosmological purposes. Wait a minute, dude. So if we threw out number 1 because it was invalidated, and if we threw out number 2 because it's invalidated, we're definitely going to throw out number 3, right? Not a fucking chance, brother. Dude, they're Copernican Principled out of their fucking minds right now, bro. Their theory of relativity it up. They're making special orders for the theory of relativity, bro. No, sure didn't, dude. So this redshift observation proves that the Earth is in a unique spot, because if anywhere else they tried to review this from, because that's what they say, right? They say that they give that raisin bread explanation, or the balloon thing, where they're like, well, if you imagine a balloon expanding, a bunch of dots on a balloon, and you blow up the balloon, all of the dots would be expanding away from each other at the same rate and speed and all that. That's how they explain the expansion of the, or why there's no speed difference in that shit. And they're like, well, no, it's not because we're the center, it's because it's all expanding away from us at the same speed, right? But and we can't be the center, even though all our observations say that we're the center, right? Because if you go to Edwin Hubble, we'll just do this real quick. Edwin Hubble. I have the presentation, actually. Hold on. 1 second. It was documents. Oh, you know what? It's actually Office. What's it called? PowerPoint. PowerPoint online. Oh, of course it didn't save. Why would it? Why would it? Damn, for real, you really gonna do me like that, PowerPoint, in the middle of my fucking video, bro? Yikes, man. I don't even have PowerPoint. Yeah, misquoting Hubble. Dude, it's literally fucking misquoting Hubble. So not only are they literally living out exactly what they say, holding true to the Copernican principle. Like not only are they like holding true to that, like we're misquoting him. Oh yeah, it's from this guy. That explains it. Okay. I didn't know this was a Fuckner. Let's see. Or yeah. So therefore, in order to restore homogeneity, to escape the horror of a unique position, the departures from uniformity which are introduced by the recession factors must be compensated by a second term representing the spatial or the effects of spatial curvature. So let's see. Yeah, okay. Such a condition would imply. Oh, sorry, I read that backwards or out of order. Such a condition would. Wait, is there another one before that? Such a condition would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, but that position is unwelcome, or is an unwelcome supposition as a favored location, must be avoided at all cost. Such a favored position, of course, is intolerable. Moreover, it represents a discrepancy with the theory because it postulates the homogeneity, blah, blah, blah. So this homogeneity and all this bullshit he's talking about and what this guy's fucking pretending isn't reality when it's literally fucking exactly what's happening. The Copernican Principle. Okay, the Copernican Principle states that Earth is not the center of the universe, and that as observers we don't occupy a special place within it. Okay, well, turns out, funny story, dude. Turns out, we must abandon that cosmological principle and both theories of relativity, you know, because it turns out we are in a unique position and we are the center of the universe. And, spoiler, there's no expansion. Because for there to be expansion, they have to say that there's dark matter and dark energy. And instead of just being wrong, right? Instead of just abandoning it, right? They just kept going. So when you keep going, this is you have to say things that you can never test, prove, measure, observe, or produce in a lab, replicate, anything like that. You have to say, oh, those things exist, and not only do they exist, they're causing why there's a discrepancy in what we previously said was happening. Oh, dude, you know what that sounds like? A fucking child like telling a lie and then like telling another lie to like try and get out of it, but the second lie is even more ridiculous. So, and remember, this explanation was abandoned because it's inconsequential, right? Remember, remember, guys, we have to view this dispassionately. Don't freak out over number 3, right? Right. So let's just be dispassionate and we gotta throw these out, right? Special relativity, general relativity, and the Copernican principle, right? We gotta toss them. But they didn't, did they? They didn't do it. So anyway, let's keep reading here. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. That shit just cracks me up, man, because it's so blatant what they did, and this guy, that Faulkner guy, is like, Oh no, I can't even. I've never even heard him talk, but I can't actually. There was a video of a flat earther going up to him and saying something, and he didn't have an answer. It was like one of those uh real easy questions, like, you know, atmosphere next to a vacuum or something, and he just fucking shit his pants. So yeah. Yeah, dude, your Cephoid variables or whatever, Cephids variables. Check those out, man. Check out those variables. This is what we're dealing with, dude. Cephoid variables. Look up what those are for fun. And just know that there's no way to test that or confirm it or anything. So anyway, so we've abandoned that, and then we must consider the other two possibilities which have been discussed in the literature and explained the apparent redshift of quasars. The difficulty in assuming that the redshifts are gravitational are well known, and we need not repeat them here. In addition, there is no reason why there should be coincidences in the MR values. Z is essentially a function of MR for gravitational redshift. The local Doppler interpretation redshift also has serious difficulties. In addition to what we had, it will have to explain why quasars are ejected in shells. So, you know, good luck, man. Got to throw it out, right? Right, guys? We're throwing it out. We're throwing it out, right? And then this guy got a Nobel Prize because, oh, dude, it's so fucking crazy what these people say science is versus what happens when the Copernican Principle, which is, by the way, a philosophical idea, right? This is a fucking. Where did I look that up at? Was it right here? No, Copernican. It's a philosophical idea. I had it up earlier. We read it. It's not even. It's not based on anything. There's evidence that we're the center, and they're just saying, well, no, though, we can't be because, you know, no. And they act like we're retarded when we don't believe in the Big Bang Theory, dude. And I'm not mad at you, One Coin Midas. It's all good, bro. But this is the attitude, the resistance that people are met with when you're talking to science. Someone who's speaking in science, dude. You're just gonna disregard all the astrophysics. Look at these fancy titles, dude. In astrophysics, the fields of astrophysics. These people don't go to space, and they have degrees in the place that they don't go. They have a degree in ideas and math. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, but like one day if we did go there, we'd have all these dudes with degrees ready to fuck, dude, you know? It's just crazy. So yeah, we got to explain why they were ejected in shells. And let's see. We are essentially left with one possibility. Number 3, the cosmological redshift interpretation. However, before we accept such an unaesthetic possibility, we must raise the question, are redshifts even real? So throw this out, throw this out, no problem. Throw this out, no problem. When it comes to this, are redshifts even real, bro? Do you even redshift, bro? Like, that's, we gotta step back here, you know. We wish to point out that we have proposed an alternative explanation of the spectra quasars, which is based on sound physical principles and does not require any redshift and has no basic difficulty. So, based on sound physical principles, what's that supposed to mean, bro? Is the rest of that not sound physical principles, dude? Anyway, so back to this question. we're back to all this. So sorry, I just thought I'd give you a quick rundown on this because people might not understand how significant this stuff is, you know. And this isn't like this is the norm, dude. They've been known about this, man. Hubble knew about this shit. They've always known. They just don't want to reconcile that this place was created because so let's get to what's your explanation of it. So before I make any claims or give my opinions or anything, I'd like to preface that um, falsification is independent of replacement. So if I can falsify anything about uh, the Big Bang or anything like that, I don't even have to come up with another explanation to explain how we got here. Just fundamentally, and that's important to understand. The reason I point that out is because most people want to. They're like, we've all been kind of trained in this way, and I was like this too, you know. So it's not like you're, you know, I'm not making any claims against you or anything. But we want to be like, well, what is it then? Like what do you? And then so you got to be comfortable. One, with sometimes you don't know the answer. Two, it might take you a long time to find out the answer. You know, and even then you might not understand it, and you might have to come back to it. Um, but we live in this world where it's like they tell us they have space. They tell us they counted all the stars. They tell us that if a star goes missing, they notice, like, you know, all this shit. Like, but there's so many stars, or, you know, we're just a grain of sand in the ocean, or on the beach, you know. It's all this fucking crazy shit. But they're like, okay, so the star's 78 sextillion miles away, and it's made out of blah blah blah, and based on this color filter. It's like they've got it down to such a level that, you know, it's almost expected of us to have a replacement when when we're confronted with something, because if we don't have anything to replace it with, we're not comfortable or familiar with not knowing, right? Because there's always something you could turn to be like, especially in this day and age with Google and whatnot, and how far we've gone with scientism. You can Google anything that you don't know or have a good understanding of, and get real quick confirmation bias of it, uh, or even not even confirmation bias, but even just find out what it is accurately too. So it doesn't even have to be negative too. I don't know why I went to the negative place first. That's not even where I was going, as I was thinking about it in the context of just available information and being able to find things out. Um, so yeah, we've got this immediate way to replace things that we don't have an answer for. We're like, oh, just Google it. You know, we have that instant hit, you know. So when people are like, so what's your explanation that supplants it? Uh, Again, it's not. I'm not required to have one to uh. I hate saying debunk, but like to see the flaws in the Big Bang Theory. You know what I mean? To completely reject it and say no. Like, whatever you guys say, whatever you base on this is completely wrong. Uh, just based on the holes that are within it, right? So anyway, with that little preface being said, I'll go on to tell you about what I think's going on, dude. uh so yeah, I think that the Copernican Principle and the dedication to that philosophy has completely subverted the smartest people in our history. uh you know, and they came up with math equations to explain what they couldn't figure out uh with actual experiments to prove their theory, or, you know, to prove their philosophy correct, their worldview, right? So they've resorted to saying, a lot of people don't know about what the Lorentz transformation is, right? Like, they're not a lot of they don't tell you in school growing up, you know, in all the grades. Nobody was like, hey, by the way, they tried to prove the Earth's movement through space, and they tried to prove the spin a couple of times, and they didn't get the result they wanted. So they came up with a math equation that says that you actually can't get the result you want because the apparatus will physically shrink because space time will compress, and that will compact your apparatus, and it'll shrink at the exact amount that would give you a null result. So that because that would be, everyone would be like, what did you say, teacher? Can you repeat that? Like it would snap you out of it immediately. It's only like I can only imagine. I don't know, man. It's crazy because the quote unquote math on it makes sense, but it's like it only makes sense like in the sense that Dungeons and Dragons has math in it, and you can like roll damage and like subtract your hit points and shit. Like it's literally math within an established lore. You know what I Does that make sense? Is that a good analogy for it? I think that makes sense. Um, so yeah, when they're like, "Oh yeah, it's all relative, and you would never tell, you could never feel, you could never measure," you know, that's how they get away with this philosophy, right? This Copernican philosophy. Okay, and then yeah, so yeah, it's just a real roundabout way to not admit that they were wrong, and when they had to invent the Lorentz transform, like that was it, dude. Like they couldn't let it go. Like I think it was a hot minute too before that guy invented Hendrik Lorentz, before he invented it. I think it was like a hot minute, you know. So like they were like stumped when the Michelson-Morely stuff came back null. They were like, "Ah, oh, fuck, what do we do?" And this is awkward, you know. And then your boy came along and was like, "Hold on a second, I got you on that mathematical shit that nobody can falsify." And they just explained it away, and they were like, "Oh, thank God." And then out of that was born, relativity and all that shit. And you read it on Homeboy's paper. He straight up says, we got to dispatch all that shit because it's wrong, and we're the center of the universe, and there's no space-time bending, there's no any of that shit. But they couldn't, because look at how much they have invested in the narrative, man. They've made Einstein into a mythological creature. He's the smartest man that's ever lived. He figured out all this shit and blah blah blah. And then we didn't even talk about Arthur Eddington. So this is the kind of shit they'll use to back up their theories, right? And keep in mind, this guy is military intelligence. So if there was like going to be an agenda to push forward a narrative of things, like I don't know, you'd probably want someone who was like already uh in the game, of secrecy and what's it called, compartmentalization and chain of command, and completing a mission and that kind of shit, like you know so anyway, they say that space-time bends, right, because it's impacted by gravity. The gravity of a celestial body will warp space-time, right? And now light is traveling through space-time, right? Through space, right? And the stars that are behind this sun during this eclipse are bending around the light that's coming to us, because you know how they say the star would be like, let's just imagine, how should I explain this? So what they're saying is there's a star behind this, right? A little beam of light that's continually coming to us like a beam, right? And we just see this focal point dot, here on Earth from our perspective. But what they're saying is that this is like a beam of light coming at us, right? And they're saying that this beam of light is bending around the sun, right? The 800,000 kilometer or 800,000 mile sun, however big they say the sun is. It's one of those two, kilometers or miles, 800,000. They're saying that it bends around that during an eclipse and stuff because the gravitational effects or I'm sorry, forces of these of the celestial bodies is bending space-time, right? The curvature of space-time, right? Like the physical curvature that would have to be required for light to bend around a curve, right? You know what I'm saying? So they're saying that this physical thing happens, right, as a result of math that they wrote up, right? And that there can't possibly be another explanation or anything, right? And keep in mind, if you want to talk in terms of scientific experiment, like what variables are you replacing in here? You know, how are you manipulating the variables? You know, you can't. It's an observation, right? And this gets into the whole scientific method thing that they've kind of strayed away from. And if you talk to people on that level, they think you're trying to like do like gotchas and shit to them. And it's like, no, you can't do this shit. You can't just do this shit because then you're going to come up with a cosmology where the basis of it is nothing exploded and or a primordial energy exploded and became everything in uniform order down to like a degree of accuracy that's retarded. That goes against everything we observe, and they won't let it go based on the Copernican principle. So that's a huge, that's where they're coming from on that. And so this guy's observations, right? And I haven't looked at his data or anything, but I've heard this shit's not even that good of data that he had. I heard he like omitted a lot of data or something. I don't know. Doesn't even matter, dude, because there are other things that could bend light around that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like a magnetic field would bend it. If there was like, I don't know, a fucking crystalline dome above us and you know like that could have something to do with shifting stuff. Like it's just there's just other explanations for these things and they act like this, like they confirmed it, and I think in this even Wikipedia article they say um that it supposedly confirmed it or something, or allegedly. It was I didn't even expect him to say that. I was kind of surprised by it when I read it. Where does it say? Anyway, it's in here. You can read it. It says it somewhere in there that his observations allegedly proved relativity. It's somewhere in here. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I think happened, man. I think they just got hella committed to this philosophy and stuff. And then another layer to this is a lot of these guys were in secret societies. A lot of these guys are in, they're Freemasons, they're in the Illuminati, etc. And you'll hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, the I know there's Mason. I'm friends with a Mason, and he's not a bad guy." And the low level people that are just entry level Masons are in there. They're not part of the same structure or advancement tier that they're in it specifically so that to give people an alibi. I mean, not an alibi, a liability shield to be like, well, these people are just regular guys, blah blah blah. And a lot of them are, dude. They don't have they have no idea about morals and dogma and all that. And Albert Pike and what's that other guy's name? Can't think of his name. The guy who made the Illuminati. Uh, Weishaupt, something Weishaupt. Um, but yeah, they like people don't know about all that shit, and they're just part of the lower level organization of it. So you got to understand, there's tiers to it, and not everyone is in on it, but these high level people are that are referenced back from history and stuff. And those guys are typically in on it because there's degrees to Freemasonry, right? If you end up looking into that sort of thing, you'll find out that there's degrees to it. And the entry level guy down the street that just goes to church on Sunday is like, I don't even think he's a degree. He's like a level 1 or like a level 2 or some shit degree. And those are like baby dick nothings. So it's not even it's a total organization within an organization type thing. Um so yeah, they've kind of pushed forward in this agenda of, and it's just kind of turned into materialism, I guess. Like, I don't know. That's why a lot of flat earthers get into the spiritualness of it and stuff, because it explains this material struggle that we're experiencing with, because nothing in this realm that we live in is physical. It's all frequency and vibration and shit. What they say atoms are on the smallest level. Atom. If you Google an atom, you'll find cartoons. There's no atoms. You'll find cartoon pictures. Everything is frequency and waves, and it's there'll be things vibrating at a different frequency, and that's how you get your different your resistance to things and solid objects and whatnot. It's just vibrating at a different frequency. It's manifesting in this reality, and that's what they've obscured from us. There's a whole hidden and lost history to us that's not quite what they tell us. I'm sure some of the major cataclysmic and reoccurring events like that are true, but how and why they happened are probably not accurate. And there was probably civilizations before us that all knew we were on a flat plane and shit too, and knew how to utilize the simulation. We dude, once you realize what's going on here, it's so much more interesting than this shit, where it's like, oh dude, this this cartoon took a picture of this cartoon, and now we're realizing these cartoons might not even exist, bro. Like, that's so fucking stupid, and people are waking up and getting out of that, man. It's and and yeah, I hope you watch this video and you get something out of it, man, because you're not a speck of dust, you're not a random accident. You're here with a purpose. You were created. This place was created. Who made it? Who did it? How it runs now? Couldn't fucking tell you, bro. Lot of mysteries to unveil on that journey, dude. But it's once you realize this is all bullshit based on bullshit, it's self-evident that this place is a realm and it's created, and that there are certain indicators like water being level. It doesn't wrap around a sphere, right? They've just hijacked perspective and told us that um, things are going around the curve when they're not. And then when we started using, you know, like the P900 and stuff to, zoom in on things that were out at sea, they were like, oh, well, refraction and all this shit. And then they were like, oh, well, there's no actual curve. It's not the actual curve. It's the apparent horizon, Well, so yeah, they hijacked the apparent horizon and said everything's falling around a fucking curve, bro. And the sky rotates above us and we're stationary. And clearly there's some truth to relativity, because we're on the stationary object, and we're not able to tell. Well, no, I guess we are able to tell, because if you look at star trails at the equator, they go off in different directions, and that's not possible if it's the globe that's rotating. It would have to be the sky. So nah, never mind. Yeah. So yeah, it's all fucking retarded, and they've just convinced everyone that they can't feel the speeds or motions or anything because it's all relative. And that's where they've fucked us. They've convinced everyone that believes in those mathematics. And I don't understand those mathematics. Like, I'm sure they work out. I'm sure you can calculate stuff in pretend land with them. And but yeah, when it comes to like, hey dude, I want to build a building. Do you account for space-time bending? Do you account for time dilation when you're at the top of the building and you're trying to talk to someone at the bottom of the building? Like, no. Oh no, but it's not enough. It would be micro, well, it wouldn't be significant. Yeah, okay. Well, if it's not significant, then what the fuck are we talking about it for? If it's not significant, it can't be demonstrated in a meaningful way other than mathematics that nobody gets, then what's the fucking point, man? It's just an illusion. It's a magic trick to maintain this. Because for whatever reason, whoever they is, does not want us to acknowledge in mass that there is a creator to this place and that that we're in a unique favored position. So that's why they must avoid it. That's why, that's why they're like, oh, the abundant evidence. There's literally none. There's literally none. And they'll talk about, dude, oh fuck, I closed it. Oops. And they'll talk about how what happened seconds after the Big Bang. Watch this if it comes up. They claim to know what happens like 0.00, like just fractions and fractions of seconds. Yeah. 2 to the negative 32 seconds after the Big Bang, dude. Is this it? Chronological universe. There was some news article I saw recently where they were like, yeah, dude, 0.000000000000001 after the Big Bang. Blah 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 blah. Like 10 to the negative 32. That's 32 zeros, homie. Get the fuck out of here. But I can't remember how the article was worded. So, but anyway, yeah, that's the kind of shit they say. Like, how could you ever measure that amount of time, let alone something that happened allegedly 14 billion years ago? It's, it's insane. And it's all hinges on, you know, light traveling at a certain speed and an expanding. Well, we're not expanding, remember? That was just disproven, but we didn't. Well, we have to abandon that. We have to abandon the special relativity of Einstein. But no, nope. So that's why you'll never get. No one from academia is ever gonna be like, "Oh yeah, we were wrong." Oh yeah. Turns out people that don't even have degrees and shit figured it out and produced, you know, better explanations and more simpler explanations in nature than what we came up with our boson quantum fucking fields and shit. It's, they could never do it. They could never do it. And I'm not even saying we're right about everything and all that shit or have any arrogance to it, but clearly they're on a path that's going nowhere. They've literally come full circle and disproven their own theory with more theories trying to support their theory. Like, that's a fucking wrap, dude. If it were truthful, if they were heading in the right direction, the things that they were saying would be supporting their theory, right? They wouldn't have to live by a principle that says anything other than we're insignificant and not special and don't have a favored position. Anything that's not that must be ignored. What? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Oh, science is about Occam's razor and math and repeatability. And what's the repeatability in the Big Bang? How many explosions have you seen produce the universe or anything? When do you, and all the grenades and missile drones and bombs and stuff that have gone on since the let's just say the First World War, from then until now, did any of those throw a grenade and a fucking baby spontaneously was born out of it? Or did they throw a grenade and like a miniature car? No, not like a miniature car, like just a did like a like did it make anything? Did they throw a grenade and there was a yeah, it destroyed all the other shit around it, but then but it made a birdhouse, right? Or something. Like it just never happened ever. But in this time, but from the Big Bang, it happened that one time, and it made a uniform universe with a fucking sky clock that resets every year and goes through and has cycles, and you can use it to uh tell what day you're in, what season you're in, what month you're in, all these things. But yeah, the Big Bang's probably true. Like what, man? So you just gotta look into that stuff yourself, and that's my explanation of what's going on, man. They hijacked the realm, and good luck on your journey.